Hi, this is Walking and Talking Spirituality. Thanks for taking a walk with me as we close in on the end of this year. One of the things that I like to do, and I think it's important for persons, especially spiritual leaders, to do, is to reflect on their goals and where they would like to be for the next year. And one of the questions that I love to use, I use this in my coaching, I use this for myself. And you can do this with different periods of time, but the question essentially is this. Again, since we're thinking about where we want to be next year, it would be something like this. Imagine we're having this exact conversation 1 year from now, and we're looking back from 1 year to today. What has to have happened, or what has to be true for me to feel really good about my progress? And specifically for listeners of this series, it's what has to be true and what would allow me to be satisfied with my progress and grace and my spiritual formation. You know, that's a powerful question, right? As part of getting there, I think it's important as we go into a new year to think of a word. What would be one word that you could use to describe what it would look like a year from now if we could be really satisfied with our progress? Now, last year my word was curiosity, and what a word that was for 2020, right? Just be curious, try to learn from everything. And I have to say that really served me well, and as I talked about that in the previous videos. But I think my word for 2021 is going to be reservoir. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm thinking of Bernard of Clairvaux's letter. It's number 18 on the Song of Songs, where he contrasts serving God, being a minister as a reservoir, over against being a minister as a canal. And the metaphor there is a reservoir, at least in his day, you would minister out of the overflow of water that was coming over the top of your reservoir. Whereas a canal wasn't like a canal that always had water in it. It would only have water in it after storms or during runoffs, and it would immediately dry up. You know, my friends here who are listening, who are pastors or spiritual leaders who have responsibilities every week, know what it's like to minister when the second you get something, you get a moment of inspiration, immediately goes into a sermon and it's gone again. And then we're just kind of hoping something happens. So 1 year from now, what would it look like for me to be a reservoir, to overflow with abundance? Well, it's going to involve a couple of things. There's a couple other questions that I would use to follow up. We start talking about what would it look like, right? Okay, that's where I would need to be. I need to be a reservoir. So how do I get there, right? How do I get to that place? It's going to be asking these kind of questions. What will be 2 or 3 practices that I need to add or shift in my life that would, over time, these can even be small things, would yield really high results? And I was just talking to a guy yesterday that was saying, no, I would love to do more reading in biographies of spiritual leaders. And I'm like, then set your goal to read 1 page every single day. Because that's what it does. If I read 1 page of a book every day, end of the year, I'm probably done with at least 1 book, so I would have done 365 pages. But here's the beautiful thing about a small commitment that you make. You make a small commitment, you're likely to do more than 1 page, right? And what if my friend would only read 15 minutes a day? You know, that's going to manifest itself into probably 2, 3, 4 books. You add more time, and then pretty soon you're reading a book every month or even a book every week. So what are some small habits that you could add? You know, that's what I'm asking myself. So what's a couple of little things that I'm going to add to my life? And then this is just as important, and I'm going to end with this one. To grow, to be satisfied with your progress isn't always about adding new things, because that can be exhausting. It also involves subtraction. It's probably worthy of another walking episode, but let me just add with this one. It's not just about adding new things or tweaking. It's about what are you going to take out of your life that will allow you to get where you want to get to next year. So take a look at how you spend your days, some of the habits that you have now, and ask yourself, wow, what would happen if I cut this out of my life? How much more time would I have to actually walk in to that abundant future that I sense God's calling me to. So let's imagine, again, friends, we're having this conversation a year from now. Where do you want to be, and what would have to be true for you to feel really good about your spiritual progress? Then come up with a word that summarizes it. And then think about, what would my daily practices look like, both positively, what I need to add, what little tweaks, and then just as importantly, what do I need to eliminate from my life to begin to walk at that? I'd love to hear your answers. I'd love to hear your word for next year. Again, mine's Reservoir. Again, I'm Brian Russell. Thanks for taking a walk with me. Live by faith, be known by love, and be voices of hope to others.